So, what I'd like to say initially is to provide a context and to provide some technical information, and you can follow along in the PowerPoint as I move through it. Now, with respect to our 21st century professional practice, I believe our minds are being closed by the reach of managed care, that our hearts are subject to hardening by HIPAA. Yet, I believe we're all present here today because in spite of managed care and HIPAA, we seek to enhance our basic tools of empathy, diagnostic skill, and psychotherapeutic technique by embracing a psychospiritual presence with our clients. Said differently, I believe we want to cultivate a psychospiritual perspective and presence which helps to broaden our clinical minds and soften our professional hearts. Here's another caveat. Before exploring the specific themes in counseling today, I'd like to just remind you that we speak fairly freely of spirituality in professional mental health care. But there is no one cohesive definition of spirituality. We work with it, but talk with any individual and you get any number of different perspectives and understanding, including my own. And so, what I'd like to do today is let you understand how I understand spirituality. And then, from that context, you understand my points that I made. I understand the spiritual to mean that which is greater than us, profoundly meaningful and mystical, the source of all that is, and is invariably named in the East and West religious worldviews as God, the universe, Brahma, Great Spirit, Allah, Jehovah, etc. I also speak out of the understanding that the spiritual dimension is an active and necessary area for clinical assessment and intervention. And that positive spirituality, obviously, is directly correlated with mental health. Some quick statistics here. This is a clipping from the Newsweek article it was published back in 2005. It's a bit dated, but you'll know that the statistics that they present here are very much corroborated today and have actually increased. What this essentially says is that 79% of all Americans, so it's suggested that 79% of all Americans are spiritual, that 64% are religious, and that 85% are Christian. Now there's some overlap. You can see that 79 is a combination of folks who say they're spiritual but not religious, and folks who say they're religious and spiritual. So when we look at our work, our interest in working with the spirituality of our clients and in our own spiritual development is driven by necessity, because there's a high likely degree that most of your clients will have some type of spiritual practice in their lives, and that spirituality is important to them. I don't know all of your backgrounds, but I consider that since I understand that you all are working in psychotherapy, that you either have backgrounds in counseling, in social work, or in psychology. So that's a fair assumption. And I myself am a professional clinical counselor, but I know that each of these specific areas in mental health profession have competencies that relate to this subject. So I wanted just to remind us again what they are. For the professional counselor, the competency is the professional counselor continuously evaluates the influence of his or her own spiritual and religious beliefs and values on the client and the counseling process. For clinical social workers are expected to work ethically and effectively with religion and spirituality as relevant to clients and their communities, and refrain from negative discrimination based on religious or non-religious beliefs. And then psychologists have two that are pertinent. For clinical psychologists, psychologists are aware of how their own spiritual and or religious background and beliefs may influence their clinical practice and their attitudes, perceptions, and assumptions about the nature of psychological processes. Psychologists help clients explore and assess their spiritual and or religious strengths and resources. In my own experience as a clinical counseling educator and professional counselor, I have identified 3 important parallel themes that I think are important. One is the degree to which the clinician is comfortable with psychospiritual intimacy with self and others will support the client's positive growth in relating to others and self. The second parallel theme is the degree to which the clinician is psychospiritually self-aware will aid the client's increasing self-knowledge. And then thirdly, the degree to which the clinician has an active spiritual life and practice, the more the clinician will be able to accommodate the client's religious experience and belief in therapy. The central processes in this are reverence, transparency, and trust. Reverence is seen to be the core of spiritual attunement in my mind. It's the core of spiritual attunement, reverence. It requires a person to think, act, and listen from the heart, and bring forth feelings of wonderment and awe concerning how another person has created the meaning of his or her life. Henry Grayson, who is also something of a co-presenter with me today, as well as Ronald May and James Blumenthal and Carl Rogers. Grayson refers to it as seeing the sacred in ourselves and in every other person and situation. When we touch this self, it introduces a source of confidence, or faith, if you will, that can banish isolation, codependency, and loneliness. But here's the thing. It will be difficult to identify or talk about this in therapy with our clients if we're not on board with this reality ourselves and have touched and had direct experience with our own inner essence. And if we have time at the end of this, I'd like us to sort of comment, make observations of our direct experience of touching our real self, when we know that that's the soul that we experience. This is a type of intimacy that happens. And I like to call it a supportive mutuality when both you have touched your own self and your client has begun to understand and identify that resource in himself. Henry Grayson puts it this way. He says, each moment is a chance to be the love which God is and which we are. Each and every moment in every situation is a chance to be the love which is God and which we are. Each problem, therefore, is an opportunity to access our true self, and by doing so, it brings a healing to our relationships. For me, this healing of mutuality or love is present in the very spaces we share together. The counseling space is one of the most intimate spaces humans can share. You may not think of it that way, but it is. So the quality of your presence, my presence, in that space is very much important for the client and of signal importance for us. One thing about understanding the religious experience and beliefs of our clients is not so much that we have to go get a degree in religious studies, but we do need to be very aware of the different metaphysical views, worldviews that our clients might bring to us. But to your point, this is my alumni magazine from Stanford University Business School, and one of the articles in here, I'm surprised, I said, okay, this is 21st century. The title of it is, How Does Belief in God Affect Our Behavior? This is in a business school magazine to the alumni. So it shows you how deeply this is going into our society. And there are any number of business groups that focus in on spirituality as part of delivering a better a business model.
Thank you very much for that.